How does it feel to be the most useless one here, Rowan? That's what my sister said, on camera, in front of our entire family, while the world watched us unravel online. Hey, I'm Rowan Carter. For years, I was the fixer, the quiet backbone nobody praised, until the night my own blood turned humiliation into a spectator sport and pushed me past my breaking point. Have you ever been betrayed by the people who should have protected you most? Do you think loyalty means staying silent? Or is there a moment when standing up for yourself becomes the only option? Tell me, what would you do if the family you sacrificed everything for called you worthless in front of everyone? Let's rewind to the night I stopped being their safety net and started becoming their reckoning. How does it feel to be the most useless one here, Rowan? Meredith's voice blasted through the speakers, her tone smug and rehearsed, as she smiled wide for the row of iPhones propped up across the long mahogany dining table. All around me, my family's sprawling Charleston mansion hummed with voices, laughter, the clinking of silverware, the fake interest of relatives I barely remembered, and that undercurrent of showmanship only Meredith could conjure. I froze, one hand still hovering over the crystal water glass as every head in the room snapped toward me. My phone vibrated with notifications. Live, Carter family game night, roast or toast. Of course. Meredith didn't just want to humiliate me. She wanted an audience. A flash of memory hit me, hunched over my tiny kitchen table at 2 a.m, poring over overdue bills for this very house. My own paycheck bled dry to keep the lights on while Meredith slept, her business losing money, her phone always on silent when I called. All the times I was the responsible one, the fixer, the secret ATM, but always the punchline when family jokes started. Every thankless late night, every ignored sacrifice, now served up for entertainment. Tonight, Meredith announced, her voice sugar-laced poison. We're playing Who's the Weakest Link. Spoiler alert. My vote goes to Rowan. A wave of laughter rippled down the table. A cousin's girlfriend giggled, fingers dancing over her phone as she filmed. Even my parents, Harlan and Edith, smirked and shook their heads as if it was all in good fun. My cheeks burned. Meredith pulled out a stack of proof, fake bills, printouts, evidence of debts she claimed I'd racked up, stories about me mooching off the family, her voice rising above the din. She's never moved out, never made anything of herself, just sits at home shuffling paperwork. Am I right? She looked around for affirmation. Heads nodded, some too quickly, the air thick with complicity. Dad leaned back, folding his arms. Rowan's always meant well. Maybe someday she'll step up. Mom sighed, eyes wide and watery for the camera. We've always supported you, Rowan. Maybe it's time you pulled your weight. I felt the familiar stab, shame, anger, the impulse to shrink. But something in me twisted tight and snapped. My hands clenched in my lap. I looked at Meredith, her eyes glinting with triumph, sure I'd swallow it all again. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood with a sound that sliced through the laughter. I looked straight into the lens of Meredith's phone, my voice steady as ice. Are you sure you want to see what happens when I stop being useful? Silence fell like a guillotine. For a heartbeat, even Meredith blinked. The music cut. Someone's phone slipped, thunking onto the table. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears and the ticking grandfather clock in the hall. Meredith's lips curled in a sneer. Try me. I'm not afraid of your little tantrums. She waved her hand, dismissing me, but her eyes flickered with something new, doubt. I let my gaze travel across the table, memorizing every smirk, every camera, every false smile. If useless means not saving you anymore, I said, my voice carrying. Let's start today. Dad shifted, clearing his throat. Rowan, enough drama. You know she's joking. She's not joking. I cut in, staring him down. You all aren't, but you should be worried. Because from this moment, all support ends. Every secret you hid, I'll expose it. Every debt, every lie, every time you took from me and called me a burden, I'm done. There was a crash. Aunt Valerie's wine glass rolled off the table, shattering on the tile. No one moved to pick it up. Phones kept recording. A cousin in the corner whispered, "Is this real?" A little girl's voice, my niece, piped up, "Mom, why is everyone laughing at Aunt Rowan?" Her mother shushed her, eyes darting away from mine. Meredith's mouth worked silently. Mom looked close to tears, fingers twisting her napkin. For a moment, I saw panic in Meredith's face, a mask slipping, the ringleader caught off script. But her pride snapped back, and she forced another smile, teeth bared. I grabbed my purse, pushing past the crowd. As I left, the cameras kept rolling, but the laughter was gone, replaced by a tension that coiled through the room like smoke. Behind me, voices erupted. What was that? Is she serious? Did Rowan just threaten us? I didn't answer. I walked out, the front door closing with a finality that echoed in my chest. Outside, a cool night breeze hit my face. My phone buzzed, texts and missed calls already flooding in. Meredith, come back. You owe us an explanation. Mom. Rowan, please talk to me. Notifications popped up, someone's TikTok clip already going viral. Hashtag family drama, hashtag useless Rowan. I looked up at the stars, heart pounding but steadier than it had been in years. For the first time, I realized, if being useless meant refusing to be their victim, maybe I was finally ready to wear the title with pride. You're not family anymore, Rowan. Get out and don't come back. Meredith's words cut through the darkness, sharper than the thunder cracking overhead. The rain hammered the Carter front porch, soaking my hair, my suitcase, and the boxes she'd just hurled into the puddles. My heart pounded in my ears, still unable to process that my sister, my own blood, had become a stranger. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, lips curled with satisfaction, lit only by the porch light and the flashes from neighbors' phones. As I stared at her, a bitter montage ran through my mind. The night I emptied my last savings to bail her out of bankruptcy. The months I let her crash in my apartment, ate ramen so she could afford business lawyers, let mom and dad move in just until things get better. Each sacrifice, every compromise, Meredith rewriting history and demanding more, always with a smirk. But tonight, there was nothing left to give. The world had unraveled in a matter of hours. It started with an email, subject, termination notice. Due to recent concerns about workplace integrity, the text blurred as I read and reread, heart-dropping. My boss wouldn't answer my call. Then my phone buzzed again, and my fiancé's name flashed up. The message was short. This isn't going to work. I can't take the drama. Don't contact me. Confused, I scrolled online, and there it was, a viral clip, cleverly edited by Meredith, painting me as a manipulator, a parasite. Comments stacked up. She scammed her own family? Total loser. That sick feeling spread through my stomach. Meredith had orchestrated it all. Sent anonymous tips to HR, shared proof to my fiancé, poisoned every well I had. Shaking, I tried calling mom. Straight to voicemail. I tried dad, his number blocked. Standing in the rain, I pounded the door, praying for even a sliver of mercy. Meredith answered, flanked by Harlan and Edith, their faces hard as marble. It's over, Rowan. You want to play tough? Here's your prize. You're out. She shoved a box at my feet, scattering old family photos, sweaters, half my life into the muddy grass. Don't you dare come back. This is your mess. And if you set foot on this property again, I'll call the police. My voice cracked. Mom?
Dad.
Dad stared ahead, jaw clenched. We warned you. You chose this. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. You've embarrassed us enough. Just leave. Behind them, the living room buzzed, neighbors crowding the windows, filming with their phones. Across the street, Mrs. Burke whispered loudly to her husband. That's the one Meredith said was stealing. What a shame. My chest burned with humiliation and disbelief. Meredith threw my umbrella into the wind. It tumbled down the sidewalk, flipping inside out. Rain poured down my neck. I looked for something, anything, one friend, one ally, but even the family dog whined and retreated when I called. Lightning flashed. I saw the ring, my engagement ring, lying in the gutter, glinting once before it spun down a storm drain. A dog wagged its tail at me, only to be yanked away by its owner, who offered me a pitying look before hustling inside. Through it all, Meredith's voice rang in my ears. You're nothing without us. You always will be. I swallowed the tears, fighting the urge to collapse. My world had collapsed, my reputation shredded, career and love life sabotaged in a single night. But somewhere under the grief, anger simmered, white hot, volcanic. I straightened, gathering my things. With every trembling breath, the humiliation faded and resolve hardened in its place. I looked up at Meredith, who now smirked in victory. You just made the worst enemy you'll ever have, I said, voice like steel. She rolled her eyes.
Please.
You couldn't hurt anyone if you tried. I met her gaze, holding it until her bravado faltered. You destroyed everything I loved, I told her, every word a vow. Now, watch me destroy your safety. Thunder boomed overhead as I turned and walked away, shoes squelching in the water. No one moved to help. No one called after me. The world shrank to rain, darkness, and the distant echo of doors slamming shut. As I reached the street, a flood of text notifications poured in, calls from old friends, all ending with the same line. I'm sorry, Rowan. Please don't drag me into this. My support system was gone. The network I'd spent my life protecting had snapped in an instant. The Carter house loomed behind me, lit up, alive, pulsing with Meredith's victory. I turned one last time, watching as she stood triumphantly in the doorway, silhouetted against the warm light of a home that was no longer mine. My clothes clung to my skin. My dreams, my pride, my family wrecked. But as I stood in that storm, I knew one thing. I was done playing the martyr. This was survival now. They'd built their comfort on my sacrifice. Now they'd feel what it was like to lose everything. At the corner, I stopped, gripping the handle of my suitcase so tightly my knuckles ached. A neighbor's little girl peeked out, eyes wide with confusion and pity. I smiled back, a silent promise that this wasn't the end. I would not be the story Meredith wrote for me. My phone buzzed. New email from Meredith, subject line, confession and settlement. I opened it, jaw clenching at her threats. Here are copies of the documents proving you forged Mom's signature. If you don't settle, I'll take them to the police and the internet. Attachments, PDFs with fake signatures, contracts I'd never seen. The streetlights flickered, rain drumming harder. I dug into my bag, pulling out a battered envelope. Inside, my own cache of secrets, evidence of every loan, every sacrifice, every hidden wire transfer. The storm hadn't ended. It had only begun. Lightning split the sky as I walked into the night, alone but no longer broken. For the first time, I felt something dangerous and empowering. Fury. You want to see how useless I am? Watch what happens when the money dries up. I stared at my phone as I said it, my thumb hovering over the app's Disable Automatic Transfers button. One tap, and the Carter family ATM went dark forever. My heart didn't race this time. My hands were steady with a coldness that had taken root since the night I lost everything. The memories flashed as I sat in my makeshift home office. I'd lost count of the midnight wire transfers to cover Meredith's payroll, the sneaky Zelle payments for Mom's medical bills, the anonymous Venmo for Dad's business lunches. Years of my salary, my savings, my credit, all siphoned into their accounts. They'd never asked, just expected, because I owed them. The gratitude never came, only new demands. Now, as dawn broke over Charleston, I scrolled through my banking dashboard and did what I should have done years ago. I locked every joint account, cut off every shared credit card, and called my bank to put hard blocks on any transaction request from Meredith or my parents. The banker's tone was crisp but polite. Of course, Miss Carter. We can set fraud alerts on any withdrawal attempt. Is there a legal dispute I should note? I almost laughed. Not yet, but I'd like to be ready. By noon, my phone was a hive of missed calls and desperate voicemails. Meredith started with honey. Rowan, there must be some glitch with the bank.
Can you check it for me?
We're family. Then the switch. Rowan, what did you do? My suppliers are threatening to walk. Fix this. Next, Mom. Sweetheart, the mortgage is late again. Your father's blood pressure is up. Please, just one more time. And finally, Dad, voice clipped in cold. You owe us. If you don't help, don't bother coming home. I didn't answer a single call. Instead, I poured myself a coffee, my name. You got this, scrawled in blue marker across the lid, a small reminder that not everyone in this town wanted to see me fail. I sipped and smiled grimly, forwarding all their emails into a new folder. Evidence. Everything, every wire, every pleading text, every threat would finally work for me, not against me. Nova dropped by as I was combing through my digital paper trail. She leaned over my shoulder, her red lipstick perfectly bold. If you're making an enemies list, I brought the good highlighter, she joked. Her warmth was the only sunlight I'd seen in days. I'm done funding their lies, I said, my voice flat. Nova squeezed my hand, then whipped out her compact and, without asking, redid my lipstick. You'll need armor for the next round. And backup. She handed me a card. Jillian Polk, attorney at law. The phone rang again. This time, a Charleston Bank alert. Alert. Suspicious transfer attempt from Meredith Carter. $30,000 flagged for review. Another. Alert. Withdrawal blocked. Joint account frozen. The dominoes were falling. I pictured Meredith's face, once smug and invincible, now flushed with panic as her empire began to crack. Within hours, I was on the phone with Jillian. You have proof for everything? She asked. I rattled off my evidence. Months of statements, emails, even a voice memo of Meredith threatening to ruin me if I ever cut her off. Jillian's reply was immediate and fierce. If they come after you, we'll countersue. But let's make them sweat first. Meredith's tone changed fast. The pleading ended. The threats began. She emailed. You stole from us. If you don't restore the funds, I'll go to the police. I'll tell everyone you took the family's money and ran. I filed it all away. Every bit of venom. Every attempt at blackmail. You taught me that family can be the cruelest debt, I whispered to myself. Later that afternoon, Charleston Bank called. Miss Carter, we've detected fraudulent activity on the business accounts. Someone tried to backdate withdrawals and fake your signature. Shall we escalate? I didn't hesitate. Do it. The fallout was swift. Meredith's store account was frozen. Her credit lines evaporated. Mom and Dad's mortgage bounced twice. Neighbors started talking, whispers growing louder, suspicion spreading. I watched the numbers on the Carter family accounts blink from green to angry red. Meredith's business partners cut her off. Suppliers canceled contracts. The Carter name, once a byword for respectability in our circle, had become synonymous with scandal. I spent that night gathering all my records into one thick folder, watching as emails from Meredith grew more shrill, more desperate. Fix this. You're destroying us. After everything we've done for you, you'll regret this. I'll make sure of it. But I felt nothing but relief. I walked to the kitchen, my coffee now cold, and stared out the window at the city that had always watched us, first with envy, now with glee. I checked my phone, a text from Nova. You got this. Tomorrow we fight. By midnight, another email landed in my inbox. Subject: Legal action pending. From Meredith Carter. You've stolen from your family for the last time. We're taking you to court. And then a separate voicemail from Dad. Rowan, you've forced our hand. We're siding with Meredith. You'll answer for this. I leaned back, feeling a kind of calm settle over me. Let them try. Let them scramble. Because I'd finally stopped paying their debts, and now they'd pay for their own. Let's see how you survive when everyone knows what you did. I stared into the blinding white of the camera light, the heat of the moment burning in my veins. The press conference room buzzed with voices, reporters jostling for position, cameras flashing, a tide of cell phones held aloft. The live stream was already trending. #CarterScandal, chat rolling so fast I could barely register the words. Outside, crowds had gathered. Inside, every eye locked on me. Meredith sat across the stage, pale and shaking, her smile frozen, mascara already threatening to betray her composure. Mom and Dad hunched in the corner, faces drawn and gray, no longer the masters of any room. I remembered, clear as day, every time Meredith forged my name on a loan, her fake apology, her manipulative, "It's for family, Rowan." How many times had I forgiven? Swallowed my anger for peace? Now, there was no peace left to keep. A reporter called. "Miss Carter, can you confirm the allegations of financial abuse by your sister?" I didn't flinch. Not only can I confirm it, I can prove it. I held up a fat stack of documents for the cameras. This, I flipped to the first page, projecting it on the screen, is a bank statement showing over $200,000 I wired to cover Meredith's debts, at her request, over the last 5 years. I clicked again. Here are emails, voice recordings, Meredith threatening to ruin me if I ever stopped helping. And here, I displayed notarized copies of loan agreements, my signature forged, my identity stolen to secure a loan on a business I never owned. The room erupted, flashes, gasps, a cacophony of questions. One journalist shouted, "Did your parents know?" I locked eyes with my father. They not only knew, they pressured me to cover for her. They told me I owed this family, no matter what it cost. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Rowan, please, let's talk privately." I cut her off, cold and precise. For years, you begged for secrecy. For years, you let Meredith destroy my life because it was easier than confronting her. Meredith lurched to her feet, voice cracking. She's lying. She's obsessed with destroying me. She can't prove any of this. I didn't even blink. You want more proof? I tapped on my phone, and a video played, Meredith slurring, waving a glass of wine. I just use Rowan's name. She's so desperate to be loved, she'll sign anything. Live stream chat exploded. What a monster. How could her family do this? Team Rowan all the way. A young reporter, shaking, raised his hand. Miss Carter, do you feel sorry for your family? I took a breath, voice steady and unflinching. I was your shadow, your safety net. Now, you face the world alone. Nova, watching from backstage, jumped in on her own live stream. Rowan, for once in your life, take what's yours. The fallout was instant and brutal. Meredith's phone pinged endlessly. Notifications piling up as sponsors pulled out. Business partners emailed notices of breach. By the time the press conference ended, she'd been locked out of her business email. A public statement of termination splashed across social media. Mom and Dad slunk out of the room, trying to avoid cameras. Reporters shouted questions. Did you know about the fraud? Will the Carter family lose their house? Behind me, another notification. The bank had begun foreclosure proceedings on their home. Friends who once worshipped the Carters now blocked their numbers. Even extended family called to demand answers, or to cut ties altogether. Meredith tried to speak to the crowd, but every time she opened her mouth, the live stream chat drowned her out. Fake. Liar. You got caught. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, her high heels catching on the stage carpet as she stumbled. People in the audience pulled back as she tried to leave, a wall of cold shoulders. Backstage, Nova grinned, hugging me tight. You did it. You finally showed them who you are. But all I felt was exhaustion and a strange, cold relief. Then, just as the day seemed to end, my phone buzzed. A legal notification sent by Meredith and both my parents. You will receive notice of a lawsuit for abuse of trust, slander, and defamation. This isn't over. Almost immediately, headlines appeared. Carter's to sue daughter over scandal. Meredith's friends spread rumors, trying to claw back sympathy. But the evidence was out, and the world wasn't buying it. Before I left the stage, the trembling young reporter caught my arm. Do you regret any of it? I met his eyes. I regret staying silent for so long. Never again. The truth doesn't care who your family is. The words echoed in the marble-walled courtroom, bouncing between the old wooden pews and the gallery packed with faces I knew and more I didn't. It was standing room only, a crowd of former friends, old neighbors, half the town, all hungry for a front-row seat to the Carters' public meltdown. Photographers jostled for a clear shot. News crews whispered behind laptops. I could feel their eyes on me, the pressure of 1,000 judgments, none of which mattered compared to the battle I was about to win. As I took my seat next to Jillian Polk, my attorney, a pillar of cool competence in a Navy suit, I flashed back to every time I'd let Meredith and my parents get away with everything because we're family. All the warnings, the betrayals, the nights I'd wept in silence instead of fighting back. That hesitation had cost me everything. Today, there'd be no mercy. Judge Bradford entered, gavel falling. Charleston Circuit Court is now in session. The matter of Carter versus Carter. Allegations of financial abuse, fraud, and slander. I gripped the table edge, steady and unyielding. The opposition opened with melodrama. Meredith dabbed her eyes theatrically, her lawyer painting me as a vindictive daughter bent on destroying her own blood. Ms. Carter preyed upon her family's trust, manipulating accounts and assets for personal gain. The gallery murmured, some faces turning in sympathy. Dad slumped, as if the shame were too heavy to bear. Mom clutched a handkerchief, looking every inch the tragic matriarch. I felt nothing. Meredith produced a stack of evidence, doctored emails, forged withdrawal slips, testimonies from family friends, paid to confirm her version. The performance was Oscar-worthy. Rowan has always resented us. She never wanted to see the family succeed. I almost smiled at her desperation. Jillian stood, calm and razor-sharp. Let's review these proofs one at a time. She passed originals to the bailiff, bank statements, wire transfer logs, voice memos, notarized contracts. One by one, each forgery unraveled under cross-examination. The bank's compliance officer confirmed the signatures were fake, the withdrawal dates impossible, the authorizations traced back to Meredith's own devices. The judge's brow darkened. Miss Carter, can you explain these discrepancies? Meredith faltered. Her eyes darted between the bench and her parents, who both suddenly found the floor fascinating. Jillian pressed the attack. Here is a voice memo from December 4th. Rowan will never expose us. She's too scared to fight. The courtroom rustled. I glanced at Jillian, who nodded. My voice was low, but clear. Justice isn't cruelty. It's what you chose. Meredith turned, wild-eyed. She's twisting everything.
She always hated me.
She wants us to suffer. Judge Bradford's gavel hit the block. Enough. This court will not tolerate outbursts. The gallery held its breath. Then came the turning point. Meredith, under pressure, tried to flip the script, accusing me of planting false evidence, suggesting I'd bribed bank staff. The lies crumbled as Jillian produced corroborating emails from third parties and video evidence of Meredith herself initiating illegal wire transfers. Mom began to sob openly. Dad's breathing grew shallow. Suddenly, Harlan's head lolled, and he collapsed. The bailiff rushed over. Call 911. But the judge didn't stop proceedings. Court will recess for medical assistance. When we resume, the record will reflect all presented evidence. After a tense hour, the trial resumed. Jillian delivered her closing, her voice echoing through the now silent courtroom. No one is above the law, not even family. She turned to me, and I squeezed her hand under the table. Finally, Judge Bradford rose. The courtroom stilled. Based on the overwhelming evidence, the court finds Meredith Carter guilty of fraud and financial misconduct. Harlan and Edith Carter are found complicit in concealment and coercion. Rowan Carter is hereby cleared of all allegations and is entitled to restitution of assets wrongfully seized. Case dismissed. A beat of silence, then a storm of reaction. Cameras flashed. Whispers erupted. Meredith buried her face in her hands. Mom reached for me, pleading, Rowan, please. You can stop this now. Don't destroy what's left of us. I stood, tall and cold. You built your comfort on my suffering. Today, you pay for it. Jillian squeezed my hand, smiling. Reporters rushed forward. Someone handed me a bouquet of lilies with a card. Congratulations, Rowan. Truth always wins. Photographers snapped a shot. Me and Jillian in the sunlight, relief and triumph mingling in my chest. As we left the courthouse, the Charleston Post's headline blinked on my phone. From useless to unbreakable, Carter daughter wins court battle. Outside, the press mobbed me, shouting over each other. Rowan, do you forgive them? Will you reconcile with your family? I faced the cameras, searching for an answer. For the first time, I didn't feel shame. I felt free. The sunlight hit my face, and I smiled, not for them, not for the cameras, but for myself. Mercy is for those who regret. I only see regret for themselves. Sunlight spilled across my new apartment, painting gold across the hardwood floors. I stood at the window, the city of Charleston waking quietly below, and read the latest text from my mother, her words a soft echo of a different life. Rowan, please. We're so sorry. Can you ever forgive us? Beneath that, a longer message from Meredith, alternating between wounded pride and desperate apology. I lost everything, Rowan. You were right. Just please answer me. I let the phone rest on the windowsill, a faint smile touching my lips. The ache those words might have triggered was gone. I felt only clarity, like stepping into bright, cold air after years in a windowless room. I remembered, suddenly, the mantra Mom used to repeat. Family is everything, Rowan. Without us, you have nothing. How many years had I believed it? How many pieces of myself did I hand over in the name of love and duty, always thinking sacrifice was the only currency that mattered? There was a knock on my door. Nova burst in, a bag of croissants in one hand, her phone in the other, grinning from ear to ear. "Did you see it?" she squealed. "They want you to headline the Empower Women Conference next month. You're going to be famous, Rowan." She dropped the pastries on my table, then hugged me hard. I laughed, a real, unguarded laugh. "I'm not sure the world's ready for me." Nova winked. "They better be. After all, you survived the Carters." I checked my email. There were dozens, journalists, event organizers, messages from women who saw the trial and wanted to share their stories. One subject line caught my eye: nomination, Inspirational Woman of the Year. I felt Nova's hand on my shoulder as I read. "Rowan, this is just the beginning. All those years they tried to bury you, look at you now." We stood together by the window, sipping coffee as the city brightened. Hashtags flashed across my notifications. Hashtag Rowan Rises, hashtag No More Martyrs, hashtag Stand Up For Yourself. Meredith's world had collapsed with a whisper, not a bang. Her friends, former business partners, even distant relatives quietly disappeared from her life. The last I'd heard, she'd moved into a studio in a neighboring town, a far cry from her glory days. My parents lost their home, the house they'd once weaponized as leverage. They left Charleston, retreating to some distant cousin's spare room, names erased from the country club register. I pinned a photo above my desk, a screenshot from that infamous family dinner, Meredith's face frozen in mid-laugh as she mocked me. Next to it, the framed award, Inspirational Woman of the Year. Some scars never fade, but neither does the pride of survival. When the day of the conference arrived, Nova joined me backstage, adjusting my microphone and lipstick. "Ready to make them cry?" I grinned, nerves and excitement mingling. "I'm ready to tell the truth." Stepping into the lights, I faced an auditorium filled with hundreds, some in tears already, some holding up signs that said, "Thank you, Rowan." I took a breath and began. "No one can steal your worth unless you let them." I learned that the hard way, giving everything to people who measured me only by what I could provide. My worth was never yours to measure. Applause rose, thunderous and cathartic. That night, Nova and I toasted champagne by my window, the city glowing beyond us. She handed me her phone. "You're trending again. And look, someone just sent you this." An email invitation. A global nonprofit wanted to partner for a new project, helping women break free from toxic families and find their own voices. I pressed my palm to my heart, feeling the beat of something strong and new. "Thank you," I whispered, not to Nova, not to the audience, but to the hard, painful journey behind me. It had made me unbreakable. The morning after the conference, I stepped onto my balcony. The roses I'd planted had finally bloomed, their petals bright against the sunlight. I breathed deep, letting go of every old fear. As I reached for my phone, another email arrived. This one was from a woman in another state, writing, "You gave me the courage to leave. Thank you, Rowan." I smiled, genuine easy. Mercy wasn't for those who never repented. Freedom was for those who chose themselves. And as the world waited for my next move, I realized my story wasn't about revenge. It was about rebirth. After everything, I finally found my peace, and reclaimed the dignity I lost. The storm has passed. I stand free, with nothing left to prove and everything to look forward to on my own terms. If life has taught me anything, it's that kindness without boundaries leads only to regret, but the courage to stand up for yourself is the beginning of true freedom. In the end, justice prevails. Those who take without gratitude will always pay the price, while self-respect endures. Have you ever had to break free from someone who took you for granted? Share your own story or thoughts below. Your voice might give strength to someone else searching for their way out. And if you want more stories of bold comebacks and hard-won respect, don't forget to follow for the next journey.